Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for November 26th. So, I'm hoping all the people in the States had a really lovely Thanksgiving. I'm sure most of you are out doing Black Friday shopping instead of watching this, but hopefully you'll catch me at some point in time. Okay, so first of all, to new subscribers, thank you so much and welcome to the Soulprint family. I'm really delighted that you're here. All of the shares and the thumbs up and the comments are brilliant, and I really, really appreciate them. And of course, to my established subscribers who have hung in there for like ever, thank you so much. I adore you. Okay, so a couple things. We're going to do a little bit of pendulum work first. Just sort of stuff that's floating around, and I just want to get some clarity on. I received a couple of comments about people asking if Joe Biden was going to step down after the midterms. And I have never ever gotten anything like that. I've always said that he's going to complete his first term. But I saw something just the other day that the White House has announced that he will run again in 2024. So I want to check out that kind of stuff. I want to look at the Arbery. All those guys were found guilty, thank God. And they're talking about an appeal. I want to see if that's going to happen and if that's going to be successful. So I'm just going to sit here for a few minutes with my pendulum and let's see what we've got. Again, for those of you who are new to the channel, side to side means the pendulum wants to talk. It's ready to talk. Please show me yes. Back and forth is yes. Show me no pendulum. And round is no. Pendulum stop. So, you're going to notice the movement in my hand. That is energy. Here we go. Okay, so let's start with Joe Biden. Is President Biden going to be stepping down at any time prior to the end of the completion of his first term in office? No, he's not. Is Joe Biden going to run in 2024? Is he going to seek re-election for the election of 2024? Yes, he is. Okay, so that's a shift because I always said he would be a one-term president. I think maybe now that he's got in there, he realized that there's a whole lot of stuff that needs to get fixed. And as long as sort of the right wing is so toxic, I think he feels that maybe he needs to stay put, because I think originally energetically the impression I got was always that Kamala would run for president and Biden would only be a one-term president, and that would usher in the way for your first woman and certainly black woman president. It looks like right now the energies are shifting a little bit on that. Given what's going on in the country, that kind of makes sense, right? Okay. 3 convictions of felony murder. That sounds really serious, as it should be, as it absolutely should be. Are they going to appeal? Oh, I'm getting a no, which is really interesting. Smart legal minds say yes. Okay, we'll take that for right now. Obviously, this has just happened. I'm recording this on Wednesday, so this has just happened. So energetically, at this point, maybe it's still sort of, I don't know, up in the air. We'll see. Is Bannon going to be, convicted? Is he going to be found guilty of blowing off the House committee? Yes, he is. Okay. So since I talked to you last, Roger Stone has been subpoenaed, as has oh, good Lord. Oh, who's that really other annoying guy? Okay, so you got Bannon. We already knew about that. Some of the Proud Boys and a few of the other right wings have been subpoenaed. So let's look at, hopefully the other person's name will come floating into my brain. Is Roger Stone going to blow off the subpoena. Okay, so no. Is Roger Stone going to show up to testify? Okay, yes. Is Roger Stone going to rely heavily on the Fifth Amendment? Yes. Okay, so that's kind of not a surprise, right? Okay. There have been a lot of, and not all, but there have been a lot of sort of signals that are sort of shots across the bow, if you will, to the white supremacist and kind of the alt-right behavior and thoughts. I mean, certainly you had Alex Jones being... he's, I think, the other one that just got subpoenaed. Alex Jones being found, liable for his crap, absolute crap, that he shot off for years and years about the devastation at Sandy Hook. You have the Arbery ruling today. There are, there's things happening that the Charlottesville, okay, that huge settlement there, right? So it feels like energetically there are some shifts taking place where they're starting to really push back on some of this extreme, rightism. Okay, Pendulum, can you confirm, is that actually an energetic shift that we are seeing? Okay, and that's getting a big yes. Speaking of, is Carl, what is it, Rittenhouse, I think? Kittenhouse? I don't know. Rittenhouse. Is he going to be facing civil lawsuits? Yes. And is he likely to be found liable for that? And that's another yes. So, I don't think it's all over for him. And, shame on those people who have the nerve to call him a hero. He is a prejudiced little thug. Just my opinion. Tucker Carlson's had some sort of a series going on Fox News that is just so full of lies. It's all about the insurrection. It's all about January 6th. And he has painted this unbelievable picture that actually bears no resemblance to reality. There have been a couple of commentators who have quit Fox News in protest. But, is he going to receive sort of any significant pushback from the corporate office? No, not at this time. And is that determined almost exclusively by revenue he pulls in? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it for right now. We'll just triple check. Is Biden's approval rating going to start climbing? Yeah. And by early in January into February, is he going to be able to continue to build up that approval rating? Yes. Okay. And the other two questions, of course, is Build Back Better going to pass? Okay, that's a strong yes. So in order for that to happen, Sinema and Manson are going to have to bend. Is there going to be some compromise that goes on there to make that happen? Yes. Okay, so that's, not expected, right? These guys are power tripping. I don't know when Manson is up for re-election, but I'm just going to ask this broadly. Is he going to pay a price? Is there going to actually be a price to be paid for the stunt he's been pulling with regards to these pieces of legislation? Yeah. And this is another question I want to ask, and this, they've just given me the question, so I don't know, maybe the universe knows something that we don't know. Is he going to be challenged by a Democrat? Yeah. Now, I know that he comes from a super, super red district. Let's see. You never know what can happen. And voting rights. You know, the states are going nuts with gerrymandering and, you know, shifting the rules and stuff to make it almost impossible for people to vote. Is the voting rights bill going to, is that one of them, a combination of them? Is there going to be voting rights protections put into place prior to midterm elections? Is that something that's actually going to get passed? That's receiving a strong yes. And, you know, I've always received a strong yes on that. And final question, is there going to be a way to get around the filibusters? Is there going to be some shift that takes place, either a carve out or something else? But is the filibuster going to be are they going to be able to maneuver around it? Say it that way. And then that, of course, is getting a really strong yes. Okay. So I want to take a look at Roger Stone and see what's going on there. I think actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to bundle it all up together, and I'm going to ask, generally speaking, about the right movement, whether that is, you know, politicians who are completely emboldened to Trump. I see that the RNC is paying some of his legal bills. Listen, if there's any doubt that this guy has Republicans just twisted around his baby finger, come on, it's blatantly obvious. And you know, this is the thing. As long as he is their de facto leader, they will do everything he basically says, because they still believe that he is their ticket to winning. He is their ticket to success. Just because why not? Is Trump going to run again in 2024? Is he going to try to seek the presidency in 2024? No. I saw something that Michael Cohen said that he really doesn't believe that Trump is going to run because his ego couldn't take being a two-time loser. All right, we shall see. Okay, so I want to look at just the right. You know, whether it is Republican politicians, whether it is, you know, the likes of, you know, the Roger Stones and the Alex Joneses, whether it is the Proud Boys, you know, and their grouping. I don't know all the names of all those organizations because, frankly, I don't want that energy rolling around in my head. I don't want a litany of these names and that energy. But let's check in and see what we can find out about, I think we're just going to call this sort of those leaning right, or those right. Okay, let's see what we come up with. Come on down. I have a question. Oh, those of you wondering, I'm wearing my... Hold on, let's see if I can show you this. It's my handy dandy Soulprint sweatshirt my daughter made for me. Okay. While I'm doing that, before I forget, if we could all take a second and pause, and please send healing energy to both the West Coast and the East Coast of Canada. British Columbia is a mess. You know, there were forest fires and that took out the trees, etc. And now they're having these huge rain flooding events, which is taking out the roads because, of course, there's no trees, right, etc. And the East Coast is also, I think it's Nova Scotia, but I could be wrong. But the East Coast of Canada is, again, getting hit with some of those, some really serious a rain event that is just flooding everything all over the place. So if we could just take a moment and send out some supportive energy to people in my country and their provinces, and hope that they stay safe and that they are able to recover. Okay. Here we go. Movement, right trajectory, movement, right trajectory, movement, right trajectory. Okay, so definitely looks like okay, so what you're going to see is as court rulings come down where, lawyers are now getting, penalized and punished for the nonsense court legal filings about, the January 6th and the steal. There was a conversation apparently that went on in one of the court cases, like just Tuesday, I think maybe, where the judge was sort of questioning if Trump understood, and they didn't do it by using his name, but the implication was clear. It was like if Trump understood that, the ceremony on January 6th was ceremonial, and Pence did not have any way in which he could have changed the electoral votes. Does that constitute obstruction? And kind of the consensus was, it very well could. And so part of, I guess, what they're looking at is all of these people who were running around on the 6th, if they knowingly knew that what they were demanding was like absolutely impossible, is that actually obstruction? And that's like a really interesting question if you think about it, right? Because what it does is it all of a sudden makes a whole bunch of people who have been spouting these ridiculous stories, knowing full well that there was not a mechanism that Pence could have used to overturn those results. It makes you wonder how many of those might get sort of lined up and hit with obstruction charges. It's very interesting there. It does seem as if the courts, the cases that are in front of the courts now, are really starting to push and starting to, make the sentences a little bit more, I guess, realistic. In its own way, it is pushing for harsher sentences because it feels as if there hasn't been enough water sort of doused onto the whole January 6th conspiracies. And it feels like, there's a bigger push now to sort of really start sending out some shots across the bow, okay? So as far as the right goes, their biggest weapon is emotions. And this is the story. These three cards just say it all, right? They sell a story, a dream. And they get all these people wound up and excited by promising them that they can make things go back to the way they were. Okay, that's really it, right? This is about, the browning of America. This is about people not having their jobs in the coal industry. This is about, politicians who are going to say whatever they need to say to stay in Trump's good graces. But what's happening is slowly but surely you are going to start to see, particularly in the political arena, you're actually going to start seeing some politicians start to just very carefully start pushing back and saying, you know what, this is getting a little too extreme. So there's that. It feels like even people like the Proud Boys and some of these bigger organizations, the Alec Joneses, the Roger Stones, it feels like they're going to have to start shifting and changing kind of the way they are responding and reacting, because Bannon is going to be made the poster child of what happens when you blow off a congressional subpoena. And so it feels as if some of that, what really felt like a log jam, okay, is starting to break up. And some of this stuff is actually going to bring them down. So the very thing that they thought they were so, so cocky and so no one could touch them and they were impenetrable because, their guy was in the White House. Well, now their guy is not in the White House. Their guy, irregardless of what he says, apparently needs someone to pay his legal bills. It just feels like they're going to actually have to start rethinking some of their strategies, because they're going to actually start to feel the punishment. And it looks like this movement actually could, really start bearing some interesting kind of results. One of the things that the committee is doing is they are looking very seriously into that. So follow the money, right? They want to see where the money came from, how it was utilized, who was aware of it, who wasn't aware of it, who knew what was going on, who didn't. And that, I think, is where you're going to see some real, I almost want to say shocking developments, some things that are going to come out that are really, really not going to look, some people look very good. So, people are working very, very hard to shore up the government and to do what can be done to, get those guardrails back into place, to move things forward in a positive way. And make no mistake, it's a bit of a juggling act right now. But the reality is that even though it doesn't feel like it, they really are making positive strides. And the money trail is going to be a big part of what brings people down. When that starts completely clicking together, and make no mistake, the committee knows a whole lot more than we do. But as that information starts coming out and getting released, that's where you're going to see people really having some explaining to do. And that may very well even include Clarence Thomas's wife. That could be interesting, that. I don't know. I'm not getting any more clarity. I just sort of see his face floating around in front of my eyes. And so there could be something even there where, people will have crossed the line. People who are aware. And I mean, I think this is what they're finding out, right? They're finding out that there was so much that went on the 5th and the 4th and the month before, and January to December 18th or whatever it was. They're starting to find out that this was not sort of as spontaneous as it sort of maybe looked, or maybe as we thought it was, where it was just a crowd that got really enraged and really got whipped up and then they just charged. This had far more strategy involved, and that meant money. And once that starts, bubbling its way to the surface of people's awareness, that's going to be a problem for some of these people. Okay. So here you have, the King of Mar-a-Lago. You have the Four of Swords, which is him losing his strength. Okay? It is as if whatever is unfolding in his world ends up slowing down or impacting him in a way so that he actually starts to lose some of the death grip hold that he has on some of the Republicans. Now, I don't know the timing of this, but it definitely feels like as more and more and more comes out, there's going to be more and more. As of right now, I don't believe that the Department of Justice is necessarily specifically looking at Trump in terms of his actions pertaining to January 6th, but I'm actually not sure that that's going to remain the status quo. It may very well be that as things unfold, there may be, and again, we won't know this, right? Because the Department of Justice keeps everything very, very close to the vest. But it feels as if there could be investigations that are started in the future that we don't know about that could, in fact, create more of a burden, not only for, the orange guy, but for the people that carry water for him, for the people that support him. Certainly, I think some of these organizations like, the Proud Boys and the 3 Minute Men and whoever the other guys are, it feels like they're really going to start getting hit in the pockets. And, they're not good. They're going to recognize that they're on their own. They've been shafted. And you're going to actually maybe see some of that starting to pull back. Because judgment's coming, and you know what? It's not going to be a good one. And it feels like there are going to be people paying some significant prices for the roles they played. Yeah, there's going to be politicians who are doing some assessing and going, wait a minute, you know what? Maybe I need to get out of Dodge now. Maybe things aren't just as, awesome as I thought they were. So that's interesting. So as I said, it feels like that log jam is starting to break up. And even though it has taken a while, it feels as if, you're hitting that place where kind of enough is enough. And there's starting to be some significant pushback on whether it is, white supremacist attitudes, whether it is about, gerrymandering, whether it is about, the voting rights. Okay. Let's just do a couple of quick, like 3-4 cards on a couple of topics, and let's see what we get, okay? Whoops. Roger Stone, legal troubles. Roger Stone, legal troubles. Roger Stone, legal troubles. Oh, and the thing with poor Roger is that he can't afford to actually really fight this stuff, right? He doesn't have the resources and the money to really, really push back. So it feels like in some ways he's going to rely on, the charity of others. He's going to rely on other people working on his behalf. But ultimately, he's not going to end up in a very good place. It really doesn't matter who he has helping him or not helping him. It really feels like he is not going to do so well, particularly when it comes to trying to fight off a summons or, all that's going to happen, he's going to show up and he's going to plead the fifth and everything, and then he's just going to look stupid and guilty. But he's going to try to carry on as if he's cocky and smart, right? Want to take a look at, let's take a quick look at how Matt Gaetz is doing, because, there's still stuff going on there, and again, got noisy and got quiet again. How's Matt Gaetz? What's going on with him? Okay, so the investigations are continuing to move forward. They're moving forward, and he is going to experience, unfortunately, a shift in his fortunes. He is going to not like to hear some of the news that he's going to be receiving. It feels as if before the end of the year, in terms of some of the investigations that have been going on about with regards to his dealings, if you will, with underage females, and frankly some of the other shenanigans that have been going on there. That investigation, energetically, just as I stepped into it, I can certainly tell you that energetically that thing is way bigger and way broader than we are aware of right now. Okay, how about we take a quick look at what is it, Gillian Maxwell? Apparently, if I'm not mistaken, I think they just started selecting jury on her. Maxwell legal concerns. Maxwell legal concerns. Maxwell legal concerns. Oh my. Okay, it's not going to go well for her, right? I mean, look, she knows where some of the bodies are buried, and she knew a lot about how things were handled. Ultimately, it does not look like a good ending for her at all. And you know what? There's something that's going to be really distasteful, I guess, if you will, about the fact, and this is a really sexist remark, and I'm sorry, but you know, I call them as I see them. There's going to be something sort of really distasteful about the fact that she was a woman taking advantage of female children. Okay? It's just not going to sit well with a lot of people. And final one, because let's try to end ourselves on a happy note, shall we? Build back better, build back better, build back better. It's going to be a delay, but ultimately, and you know what's going on now is a delay, right? But ultimately, you're going to see that it turns out in a way that is just. It turns out in a way that is stabilizing, okay? It's going to stabilize. It's going to bring forward, it's going to bring forward the sun. So, you know, again, let's not be panicky. Let's be positive. Let's continue to do the things we need to do to encourage the support for it, and anticipate that situation, the Build Back Better, is going to go through, and it's going to go through to everybody's benefit. And of course, you know, it's very important, of course, that the Republicans have something else to brag about that they did. And then so that lets all the other people call them out for lying. Fair. Absolutely fair. Excuse me. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful weekend. Take good care of yourselves. Do something fun and happy. I guess for those who celebrate, we're kind of now in the kickoff to the holiday season. And that's always, you know, a fun time, I think, for some families. You know, Christmas was very different last year than maybe they had hoped or wanted it to be. And so this year there's going to be, you know, perhaps a little bit more getting together. There is a cautionary note coming in. I'm being told that you guys have to continue to be very vigilant. You can anticipate a little bit of a shoot up of COVID cases. within, 10 days, 2 weeks, because there are just enough people out there who aren't vaccinated. But by and large, the country's getting there. They're getting there. I have long said that the springtime is going to be where, COVID is going to start really settling down, and Biden's agenda is going to really start having you're going to start seeing the government really, really working in a strong and impactful way. Astrologically, I have been told that is an accurate projection based on astrological events, of which I know zip and zero about. But I've been told by people I really trust that some of the really hard stuff that we've been carrying for a while, it looks like spring is going to really start breaking up that logjam too. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Enjoy your Black Friday shopping if you're doing so. Take good care. See you next time. Bye-bye. Be well.